Hey guys, I'm back with another video. Now I actually did upload a little baby clothing haul as well as a closet organization for how I organize my baby's clothes, but I did get a couple of requests on Instagram on doing a video on baby's closet essentials and the staples that you will need for your baby and how many of each. And I thought that would be a really good idea because I know that I had no idea and I was really confused about how many of each thing that I needed. So I thought this video will be useful if you are expecting and starting to shop for your baby and just wondering what the hell you will need. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with undergarments. Now in my newborn essentials video, I did mention that you will need undergarments that are stretchy so that they can fit over the baby's head easily, and I cannot stress this enough because particularly if you are a first-time parent, you will be learning how to dress your baby. You won't be confident and you'll just be really unsure. So while your newborn is probably screaming and crying, you will be trying to fit a singlet or something over their head, and if it's not stretchy, then you're just making it difficult for both of you. So definitely try and get undergarments that are stretchy, or get anything that has to go over baby's head that is stretchy, because you're just going to make life so much easier for yourself, so much easier for your baby. So because of that, I would actually recommend that you don't shop online for stuff like that unless you know how stretchy it is, because once you get it, if it's not stretchy at all, you might not end up using it. And I was in that boat. We ended up with a bunch of undergarments that we didn't use because it just wasn't easy enough to go over baby's head. So first of all, you will need singlets, and this is usually the first layer that you will put on your baby. Now, when you dress your baby, they do say that the best sort of rule of thumb is to put one more layer on your baby than what you're wearing yourself. So if you are wearing a jumper, for example, then your baby will need something similar as well as a layer underneath. So that layer might be a singlet. So you have your regular singlets, and then you have your singlet suits that go over the nappy as well. Now, I did not know the difference between the two. I didn't really understand when you would use one and not the other, and why one existed and the other one existed too. I just didn't get it. And I also wasn't really able to find the answer online, but now that I am a parent, I do get it. So I find that these singlets are good for nappy changes because you don't need to fiddle around with buttons, especially in the middle of the night. However, if you are dressing your baby in separates, so if they're not in a full bodysuit, for example, and they're wearing a top and a bottom, then something like this is essential, because when you pick them up and you move them around, then the top can ride up, which means that the singlet can also ride up if it's not something like this. So if it's something like this, it's secured on their body. So even if their top layer rides up, their singlet won't ride up, so they won't get cold. So that's the main benefit or difference between the two. The other thing is, if you do get poo explosions or poo leaks, this one kind of helps contain it to hopefully just this layer and not to the outer layer. That doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. But I would say the main difference is whether or not you're dressing them in separates or in a full bodysuit, but you will need both. Now, I will get onto quantities soon, but I just want to move on and talk about all the undergarments first. Now, moving on, there are short sleeve undergarment suits too. Now, I found that there wasn't a huge difference between the short sleeve and the singlets. So I actually have barely used these. So I really don't think that you need them unless you plan for your baby to actually wear this as an outer layer. So it depends if your baby is a summer baby or not. Otherwise, in terms of using it as an undergarment, you could probably skip this. Now, what you may need is a long sleeve undergarment. Now, we're in winter at the moment, so I've got heaps of these, and I've got thin versions as well as thicker versions depending on how I need to layer him up. So these are really good, and there's an obvious difference between the long sleeves and the singlets, so that's why I don't think you really need the short sleeve as an in-between. You either need a singlet or a long sleeve. So if it's really cold, then I'll put a long sleeve underneath whatever my baby is wearing. Sometimes if it's really, really cold, I'll put two of these on him and then his suit. or sometimes I might put a singlet on and then this on and then a suit. So it just depends on how cold it is and the temperature it is in the room, and if you're putting a thick swaddle on your baby or a thinner swaddle on your baby, you will start to learn and figure that out as you go along. Now, I want to talk about these openings. So you'll see that a lot of undergarments have this kind of opening on them, and you might have thought that it's just an easy way to get the top over your baby's head, but it's actually really good if your baby has a nappy leak and it's a bit messy down there and you don't want to then bring it over your baby's head and then get the mess on your baby's head. You can actually pull it down. So instead of going up ways to get the top off, you can go down ways because of this opening. So that is a nice little hack to know. So that sums up all the undergarments that I have for my baby and what I think you will need for your newborn as well. Now, in terms of quantities, I found online a lot of websites and guides say that you would need 6 of each. Now, I personally don't think that's enough at all. And the reason is because it's not likely at all, especially as a newborn, that your baby would just be in the one outfit all day. And that's because they spit up, they have nappy leaks, or as you're changing their nappy, they wee, so then they wee on their clean clothes. There's just so many reasons why they will probably not stay in the same clothes all day. And so we found as a newborn, we were changing our baby out of his clothes probably like 3 times a day at least. Sometimes we would be changing his nappy, he would wee, and this is maybe more of a boy thing, but he would wee, it would get all over his clothes, then we'd change him again, and then he would spit up on the new clothes, then we'd have to change him again. So, that's already 2 new changes in one nappy change session. So it's very, very likely that you will need to keep changing your baby, especially as a newborn. And also as you're working out how to dress your baby too, you'll probably be a bit slower. So then more accidents can happen as you're slower. So I would say the more, the better. It just means that you don't need to do laundry all the time. And we found that because we didn't have that many, we would get to a point where we'd be on the last singlet or on the last suit and then be stressed out because it'll be in the middle of the night and we wouldn't have any more backup clothing for him. So 6 is definitely not enough. I don't want to give you a definite number, but just go with maybe the thought that you might need to change your baby at the start, maybe 2 to 3 times a day on average. Like that's a very, very normal day, and then work out how many you would want from there, how often you're planning to do your laundry. The other thing to consider is they might grow out of their newborn size quite quickly. So then I understand that you probably don't want to buy that many as well, but you also don't know. To give you an idea, although all babies are different, my baby was born 3.7 kilos, 52 centimeters long, and he was in newborn clothing for about 2 months or so, depending on the brand. Some brands run big and some brands run small, so it just really depends. Now moving on to the other absolute essential that you'll need, and that is suits. So if you're in Australia, you will know the Bonds Wonder Suits. We have many, many, many of these, and these are really, really good. They have different thicknesses. So if you have a summer baby, I would definitely recommend the Bonds Wonder Cool version. I don't have any at the moment because we're in winter, but they're a really good version. They're quite thin and they're good to dress your baby in, particularly to sleep at night because they're quite breathable. Or if you have a winter baby, they have these ones here, or they have the ribbed versions, which is warmer than the normal. The normal ones are like this. So these ones are really good because they've got the fold over hands and the fold over feet, so you don't need socks for your baby. We personally never use the hands, but we do use the socks all the time. Just means you don't need separate socks, and it's got the 2-way zip as well. Now, I personally don't think that the 2-way zip is that revolutionary or as useful as a lot of people make it out to be. It is useful, but I don't think that it's any more difficult to do a nappy change if you've just got one zip. So that's just FYI if you can't find a suit you like with the two-way zip. And just an FYI, if you do plan to get the Bonds Wonder suits, they do run big, so your baby will probably wear them for a bit longer than you think. Now, in terms of quantity for these, same as the undergarments, the more you have, the better, the less you have to do your laundry. When your baby is a newborn, you'll probably find that your baby just lives in suits because it's just easier that way. You're probably not going to go out that much. So we were once again switching out his suits probably 2 to 3 times, maybe even more a day, depending on how many accidents there were. So the more you have, the better, the less frequent you have to do your laundry. Now, it goes without saying to steer clear from buttons as much as you can, especially if you are a first-time parent and you're still figuring out how to dress your child, because you will just want to dress your baby as quickly as possible because your baby might be screaming, might be really distressed. Hopefully not. I know that there's a lot of suits that are really pretty, but they're all snap lock buttons. Do yourself a favor and don't get them. You can't avoid it with these kind of undergarments, but in terms of the suits themselves, just get the zips, do yourself a favor. Now, if you have a summer baby, like I said, the Wonder Cool suits are good, or some sort of thin suit is good. If it's really, really hot, you probably won't even need to put your baby in a suit. Even a singlet or a short sleeve will be enough. Once again, it depends on what kind of swaddle you put them in, how thick that swaddle is, but you may not need too much for a summer baby. Or alternatively, if you've got the aircon on all night and it's a very comfortable temperature, then you might find that the normal suits are fine for your baby to sleep in as well. Now, right now, as I said, it's winter. We don't actually run the heater on all night, so it can get really, really cold, especially in Emmanuel's room. So he sometimes sleeps in these fleece suits, which are super, super warm. And it just depends on how cold it gets in the room. We usually put him in this if it goes down to a low of 7 degrees or less outside, and this keeps him nice and toasty. This particular one is from Best and Less. Now, in terms of clothing, you could probably stop there if you really wanted to. They are the bare essentials that you'll need, especially for a newborn. However, if you want to buy a bit more, then these are the things you might need. So let's start with outerwear. Now, as a newborn, you could probably get away with not really getting much outerwear for your baby because you can wrap them up in blankets. However, if you do want to get some outerwear, then I have found that vests are really good, jackets, and you just need one of each. So this is a vest that he's worn a lot, and this is also a jacket he's worn a lot. Now, I just want to talk about hoods. So hoods are really good because obviously if it's cold, you can put the hood on them. However, if you are planning to wear your baby a lot, then the hood might be a little bit in the way, or it might be more comfortable for them to sleep in their bassinet in the pram without a hood. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's why I have a jacket like this without a hood, just so that it's more comfortable for him so he doesn't have this big hood in the way if he's in the pram. Both work, it's just something to keep in mind. And if you have a winter baby and you know that you want to get a jacket, then something like this will be good. It's nice and soft. This one does have a hood. You probably just need one. Now, if you're from Australia, I just want to quickly mention these Best and Less tracksuit sets. I am obsessed with these. They come in so many colors. They're really easy to put your baby in because they have this opening and they're just really stretchy, so super easy to get it over your baby's head. And you can buy them separately or you can buy them as a set. As a set, I think they are $11 or $12, and they're just super comfortable for your baby. So if you do want to put your baby in separates, this is a good option. And then if you do get something like this, then you will need the full suit undergarment underneath it, just so that if this rides up, they're still warm underneath. Now, I also love leggings for babies. I think they're so cute, and you can put them over the undergarments if you like. If you want your baby to be dressed a little bit nicely, maybe if you've got visitors coming over, you want your baby to look a bit cuter and not be wearing their suit all the time, then you can put on a pair of leggings. And yeah, this is just an example, but I've got a bunch of these as well. Now, moving on to accessories. So it depends if you have a summer or a winter baby, but obviously you'll need some sort of headgear. So I have this beanie, and I wanted to mention this one because I do get a lot of questions on Instagram. This one is from Baby Bunting, and it also comes in a gray. I love the little ears. I think it's so cute. This one is a super warm one for really, really cold days. We also have just regular plain thin ones like this, and you can get away with just having one of each if you want, but these ones usually come in like a pack of 2 or a pack of 3, but it is useful to have multiples of these, so you can have like one in the nappy bag and like one in the pram caddy, for example. Now if you have a summer baby, you will obviously need a summer hat. Now this one is from Target and it's reversible, so super cute. So you want something that is going to shade your baby from the sun, and I think one of these is also enough as well. You obviously want to get some socks as well for the times when your baby is not wearing a suit with the inbuilt feet. And I just want to mention that you probably want to get socks with some sort of grip on them so that they don't easily kick them off. You may also need a bunch of bibs. Now at the start, I didn't feed my baby with a bib on, but then I quickly realized that he spits up a lot. And so having a bib on really helps. You can get cheapo ones like this that come in like a pack of 10 from Best and Less, or you can get some nicer ones. These ones are from Kmart. I kind of have like his going out bibs and his at home bibs. So we just keep a bib on him all the time, and we've got a bunch in the nappy bag, a bunch in the pram caddy. We have bibs everywhere. So you'll probably end up with lots of them, but maybe don't buy too many at the start and figure out which kind of bibs you'd like and fit best on your baby first. All right, now I know swaddles are not technically clothing, but I do want to mention this as well. Now it depends on whether or not you are planning to swaddle your baby the traditional way with wraps and with blankets, or if you're going to go down the route of something like this, which is an actual pouch that you just zip your baby up in. Now these are the Ergo pouch ones. I love these ones. These are the ones that my baby has used since being a newborn, and they come in different thicknesses or togs. Now I didn't know what the hell tog meant, but it basically means that it's a different thickness. So there's like 0.2, 1, 2.5, 3.5, and the higher the number, the thicker the tog is. Now, because we had a summer baby, we had to get some 0.2 togs. So that's how thin it is, very, very thin. And what he wore to sleep depended on which swaddle he would be in. So for example, this is a 0.2, it's quite thin. He would probably be able to wear a full long sleeve suit in it if it wasn't too hot. Or if we, let's just say we ran out of this, it was in the laundry, and we only had the 1 togs left, then we would put him in something thinner so that he wouldn't be too warm. So when you dress your baby for sleep at night, you need to think about which sleeping bag you're going to use, which tog you're going to use, and that will guide you as to how to dress your baby. Now, if you do end up getting the Ergo pouch ones, or even the Love to Dream ones, I believe they all have a guide with how to dress your baby depending on which swaddle you're using. So you might want to use those guides when you're starting out. Now, if you do plan on getting these kind of sleeping bags or swaddles for your baby, let's talk about how many you will need. This all goes back to how many times you want to do laundry again. Now, as a newborn, there are quite a few accidents, you know, whether there's a nappy leak or you've just fed them, you've placed them down and they've had a big spit up and it's gone all over their outfit and all over the swaddle, you'll need to change it. So we found that we had to change these quite often. And so I actually think that to live a stress-free life at the start of your parenting journey, you may want 3 of each tog. And I know that these are expensive, so you may not be able to have 3, but I would say if you had at least 3, then you'd be saving yourself a bit of stress, because you might be in a situation in the middle of the night where, as I said, your baby spits up, then you need to change it. So you've got one dirty one, you've got one that your baby is in. Now, the likelihood of that happening again in the same night is high. So then you know that you either don't have any more swaddles or you've still got one more spare. So it definitely helps to have at least 3, because then that will hopefully last until the next morning when you can actually do your laundry and quickly get that situation sorted and have some clean swaddles remaining. Now, if you do run out, it's not the end of the world. You can go back to a traditional swaddle and just swaddle your baby using blankets and muslin wraps. But, you know, it's a bit of a pain. I didn't really like it. I definitely prefer these. So I would say at least having 3 of each thickness helps. But once again, they do grow quickly. You won't be using them a lot. However, if you do plan on having more than one child, then you can sort of justify it that way. Alright, so that concludes my baby clothing essentials. I hope I answered all of the questions you may have had. If you've got any questions for me, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to thumbs up this video if you enjoyed watching or if you found it useful. Also follow me on Instagram because I do post a lot on IG stories there, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.